Hello everybody, Maven here, and I'm a big fan of the Gyrfalcon's Hauberk. It's one of my all-time favorite exotics, and I've done build videos on it on this channel probably like 5 or 6 times in the past 2 years, but it's time to revisit it again because the bread and butter of Gyrfalcon's Hauberk has always been the stylish executioner aspect. And the aspect from Void Bungie just so happened to put on Prismatic is Stylish Executioner. So is the Gyrfalcon's Hauberk better on Prismatic or better on Void? We're going to do some comparisons in this video and find out. So let's get to it. Hope you enjoy. So just letting you know, in the background gameplay, I tested both the Prismatic and the Void builds in the same exact scenarios to see how they compare. So I used them both in Hydroponics Delta. I used them both in a solo expert Nightfall. I used them both in a solo expert Lost Sector. I tested all the same things with both of them to see how they line up. So just keep that in mind for the background gameplay. So anyways, like I said in the intro, the bread and butter of the Gyrfalcon's Hauberk build is the Stylish Executioner aspect, which works a little bit differently on Prismatic as compared to Void. So on Void, defeating a weakened, suppressed, or volatile target grants invisibility and true sight. It's the same on Prismatic, except defeating a target afflicted by any elemental debuff will make you invisible, so it's a lot more generous. So literally all of our abilities can make us invisible. We have our Withering Blade, which slows targets, our Grapple Punch, which unravels targets, and our Ascension aspect, which jolts targets. Everything makes us invis. And once we go invis that initial time, we can basically loop invis forever with Stylish Executioner, because every target we shoot is going to be volatile from the Gyrfalcons, and that is the loop of the Gyrfalcon's Hauberk basically. But we do have one more method of going invisible, and that is with our weapon of choice, the Buried Bloodline. The catalyst reads that while Devour is active, this weapon weakens on hit, which procs Stylish Executioner. And remember, because of its exotic perk Violent Reanimation, it gives you Devour just for getting 4 final blows. Now the last time I put out a Buried Bloodline video, it was a video called "This Feels Like Cheating, One of the Most Broken Hunter Builds." Now, I know broken is a clickbaity word, but I've only ever used it 6 times in the entire history of my YouTube channel because I only use it when absolutely necessary, and that was one of the 6 times because it was genuinely broken. The sheer synergy between Buried Bloodline and the Gyrfalcon's Hauberk, especially on Void, is ridiculous. So I'm telling you, if you are using Gyrfalcon's, Buried Bloodline is your main weapon, period. There's no arguing that, trust me. And here's the reason why it's so good on Void. So here's the loop. You dodge to go invis, so you're going to have volatile rounds. Echo Cessation is going to make you a Void Breach because you defeated a volatile target. And you pick that up and you get Devour from Echo of Starvation. So remember how it takes 4 kills with the Bloodline to get Devour when we're playing on Prismatic? Well, it's only going to take 1 on Void because of Echo of Starvation. And now that we have Devour, our Buried Bloodline catalyst is active, so every single shot is weakening, and that is going to proc Echo of Harvest like crazy. Defeating a weakened target creates an Orb of Power and a Void Breach. And with this build, there are orbs and Void Breaches everywhere. And that brings us to our mod setup. Now this is for Void. Now it's more or less the same on Prismatic, but we'll get to that in a second. So if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know what to expect here. We're doing the Infinite Special Ammo setup, which is basically a copy of Charged Up on your chest, stacks on stacks on your boots, and a copy of Special Finisher on your class item. And this 3 mod combination basically makes it really easy to spam Special Ammo Finisher, so we have infinite ammo for our Buried Bloodline. So all we have to really do to get this going and have infinite special is to get armor charge. So we need orbs, and Echo of Harvest makes it extremely easy to get a ton of orbs. But on top of that, we're making those Void Breaches, and that brings us to elemental charge on our boots. And this gives us a chance to get armor charge when we pick up those Void Breaches as well. And here is our mod setup on Prismatic. There's no Echo of Harvest, so we don't get the extra orbs. There's no Void Breaches with elemental charge. We are only relying on Void Siphon on our helmet, along with Heavy Handed on our gloves, and that is all we got going for armor charge on Prismatic, so it's a lot less forgiving than it is on Void. Now for all of the Prismatic gameplay in the background today, you see me with the copy of Void Surge. However, I had to take that off in this setup for the final iteration because it was just draining that armor charge, and it was too tough to get armor charge on Prismatic, and I needed all the armor charge I can get. I needed to save it up to perform the special finishers, so I had to take that off. Now this kind of segues us into focusing on the background gameplay comparisons. So I did a thing, I did a test. I did solo expert onslaught with both of these builds. I just did one and done, one try for each. Obviously if I put in more attempts, I can make it a lot further, but it was just one try and done. On Prismatic, I made it to wave 5 and I died because I got ambushed by 2 yellow bar shriekers. And on Void, I think I made it to wave 9 and I died to a Tormentor. When it comes to survival, the Void version is just unmatched. You get Devour a lot quicker, basically instantly. You got Vanishing Step as the panic button, and you got that one copy of Void Surge to hit harder, and we can't afford to run that Surge when we're on Prismatic. But if you told me a year ago that I'd be able to have Grapple on a Gyrfalcon's Hauberk build, I'd call that a wet dream. Between the movement of Grapple and Ascent with Withering Blade to complement that, Prismatic is just straight up better for ad clear, but not as much for survivability, that's for sure. Now here are our fragments on Prismatic, by the way, and Faceted Protection is the only thing giving us any kind of survival. And Devour is not always going to be guaranteed on Prismatic. There's going to be a lot of situations where you don't have it procced, but it's basically guaranteed on Void, so better for survivability there. Furthermore, you're basically guaranteed infinite special ammo on Void, but it takes a bit more effort on Prismatic. Now, I'm not saying that the Prismatic version cannot hold its own in tougher content. I took both Prismatic and Void through the solo expert lost sector, and it was a breeze on both of them. Both builds can easily stun all 3 champions. It's just that the Void version is far more robust and potent for tougher content. I use it in Grandmasters, I use it in Legend 50 Wave Onslaught multiple times, and solo master lost sectors. It's an absolute beast. But the Prismatic version, with the abilities it has, it shines so much more in easier ad heavy content. Seasonal content, seasonal missions and activities, campaigns, exotic quests, dungeons, playlist activities, stuff like that. So with that being said, if you're gonna use this build in lower end content, build it like it's for lower end content. So because of that, I would say Buried Bloodline is not required on the Prismatic version. Instead, you can run triple surges on your boots and just ignore the infinite special setup. And you can run your favorite Void primary, doesn't matter what it is. It's going to be more consistent that way because you won't have to worry about performing special ammo finishers every 30 seconds. But which primary should you use? Well, shameless plug, I did a video on it before and I'll link it in the top right corner if you'd like to check it out. Simple answer, Graviton Lance, but for a legendary option, I got super in-depth in that video testing a bunch of different things, so I recommend checking it out. And I might do an updated version of that video in the future because we have a few new options now. So on to the TLDR of the video, Prismatic or Void? Well, Prismatic when it's easy, Void when it's hard. That's my answer. And as always, I will leave a dim loadout link to both of these builds in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. But note that the Prismatic version that I'm linking is the Infinite Special Buried Bloodline version. I'd recommend actually taking off Bloodline and running a Void primary of your choice and running triple Void Surge. I'll leave that up to your creative imagination. And that is gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to drop a like and a comment because those actions really please the algorithm gods. You got any buddies who are Hunter mains? I'd appreciate if you share the video with them. I'm sure they find it enjoyable. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing as we are extremely close to hitting 50k subs. And you can help me get there, and thank you so much if you do. And one more thing, happy 4th of July. I hope you're having a great day. And with that, I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.